Good morning. We're continuing Torah 108 of Likutei Moharan, which begins with the famous line from King David, which is a line that really helps us understand human service, godly service, the service of the Mikdash, Zevach Elohim, the sacrifice of God, Ruach Nishbara, a broken spirit. And we learned last time about all the levels of broken spirit that lead us to understanding that a sacrifice is a gift. God made it to us. We're making it to Him when we serve Him, when we break our heart. When we get that feel broken, that's actually the place where God enters. And now we're continuing further in the text that Merachem al atzmo, when a person sees where he's fallen from, the high place he was on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, on any good day, where you feel close to Hashem, where you worked the path, and the path has worked for you, and you feel close to Hashem, and then you fall, and then you feel bad. And then what happened? Who pulled the carpet out? Well, the Rebbe says, Merachem al atzmo, a person needs to have mercy on himself. Mercy on himself because he fell. Because the notion that we don't fall is a false notion. That's the tool of the Yetzer Hara to make us believe that anytime we fall, it's the end of the world. And it's not the end of the world. It's just the beginning of a new cycle of return. Because we have to go up and down to get closer to Hashem. And there's no greater mercy than the mercy of having mercy on ourselves. Now, doesn't mean that we cut our slack places of truth. It means that we are honest, but we feel compassion for ourselves that we fell. We feel like, oh, Avram, it's okay. You're going to make it. It's okay. You're going to get up again. You're not going to come down forever. You're going to go up and down and up and down. That's the path. But in the end, you see how much further you've gone than you realized. But in order to have this mercy for ourselves when we fall, we need the nisira. Now, nisira is a Kabbalistic concept. When Adam and Eve first created, they created back to back, like this. Back to back. And the Kabbalah explains because that protected them from the external forces which are on the backside. If you study the human body, you'll see that the front side of our body is that which communicates more and receives more communication, and the backside of the body is where we don't receive as much communication, and we get rid of pasolet, excess things. And so they're created this way to protect themselves from external forces, but to recognize each other, they need to be split, and that's what a nisira means, to separate or to split, turned around and come back face to face, and that's the union of the two sides of the divine form, the feminine and the masculine, what were called in the garden, the Chava and Adam. Now, this Nisirah, though, serves many purposes, not only to open ourselves to communication and unity, or unification, and we come face to face in order that we can advance the world. The Nisirah is also an aspect of a holy name. Now, holy names serve functions. Holy names are like tools in God's box. And there's a name, Het, Taf, Chaf, Chatach. It's one of the 72 triplet names of God's verses in the Torah that Moses understood were names, when woven together, could be used to open the sea. It was inscribed on his holy staff. That this of those 72 triplets, the 216 letters altogether. So you see, it's a pretty big span of names to remember. But this one name is also the name for parnasah, for making a living. It means to split or to open up. And the hatach is the letters of the verse, poteach et yadecha. Right? The final letters of those words, poteach et yadecha, open your hand, God. Open your hand, receive us. Please fulfill our purpose, our destiny, and the needs we need to fulfill that destiny. So this name, which we say it, every time you say Ashrei Yoshvei Vitecha, we have Poteach Eyedecha. And if you notice the last letters, you can actually have kavanah on the name that's embedded in those words. That's a meditative state. It's not a simple level. But if you have consciousness and awareness of it, then there's a better chance you're going to be able to bring that power into your prayer. Now, this Nisirah is the whole point is to come back to facing God. Because the minute we fall from him, we're turning our back, or he's turning our back, or we're both turning our backs. And that's the original state of creation, turning back to back. Now you say, well, in the beginning of creation, it was to protect ourselves from negative forces. But when we turn ourselves back to back now, we're actually disconnecting ourselves from the Creator and creation to a level. Not completely, or we wouldn't be alive. We would leave our bodies if we were completely disconnected. But by having that separation, turning away from Hashem, then I can turn back and say, wow, now, God, I know how great you are, how much greater you are than I thought you were. Now, if we can just remember that line, how much greater he is than I thought he was, then we're going to return and return and return. And then you become a regular around the palace, and you're welcome, and you're wanted, and your tshuva is received, and you become a force for good in the world. So, the Rebbe explains for us, because this is why he's the Rebbe, Tzadik Yesod Olam, Shachotech umenaser et atzmo. The cutting that we're doing is in ourselves, my friends. Poteach, he's hotech. It's rough language. You're going to cut yourself open. And make your oneness two-ness, because your two-ness is back to back. You're turns your back on your higher self, which is your spark of God. Vashem hatach, and this name hatach, na'aseh al yedei shemeshaberet libo, because he's breaking his heart. When you break your heart, that's when the split happens. That's when the opening occurs. That's when we're turning back to Hashem. When a person breaks his heart, he groans, and he expels spirit, he expels breath, he expels energy. And then he brings in new spirit. Oy. That's the breaking of the spirit. Breathe again, feel a little better. Breaks again. And that's how it works, literally. So when you go, it's not a bad thing. It's actually your heart breaking a little bit. Now there's big breaking where you cry, where you spread eagle on the floor, crying out to God like King David when he lost his son, Lo Aleinu. But this breaking of the heart is actually how we release the negative energy and bring in new positive energy. And these two ruachs, these two spirits, he calls them Shnei Pa'amim Ruach. Look at this, the two words Ruach, Resh, Vav, Chet, Pa'amayim, twice, spells the name Chet, Taf, Chaf, Chatach. So the repetition of the idea of Ruach equals the idea of making that break, that separation. And this is that separation. The big time in the Kabbalah, during the year, the big Nisirahs are, of course, Rosh Hashanah, because that parallels the creation of Adam and Chava. And they had to go through the process, and so do we. But this breaking and opening, finally the back turns face to face. And then when we're face to face, we have a reunification. And that's called panim b'panim, face to face. And this is the idea of the Olah offering. An Olah offering is distinguished because it's only brought twice a day, and nobody eats from it. It's all burnt for Hashem. It's the sacrifice for the whole nation as a collective, morning and night. And this sacrifice of God, this is the idea of this Olah offering, which is complete for Hashem. You don't eat it, you don't, give it to your family. Ruach nishbar. That's the broken spirit. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. Now, of course, it does. When you become closer to Hashem, other people are drawn with you. And that, my friends, is the end of the Torah, but not really, because it's Likutei Moharan, and Rabbi Nachman had a great student, Rabbi Natun, who wrote all these things down, and he often brings us notes. And he brings us a note here, which I'm going to add on. I'm not even sure. He says, Hu Lashon Havarim, he tells us that the source of this Torah was gathered from other students. V'gam yesh behem kama devarim ketanim shenemru kodem Eretz Yisrael. Some of the things were said before the Rebbe went to Eretz Yisrael, which was considered a very important break in his, not a break is the wrong word, an elevation in his life when he went to Eretz Yisrael. Al pi harov, and most of what was said, eino me taken klal, it has not been fixed or edited. And he says in certain places it's difficult to understand what the Rebbe said. So, look how honest the Rebbe Natan is. He's telling you he's having a hard time getting the simple understanding what the Rebbe's teach you. And every place that he found to fix, I found a fix. I fixed a little, and some of it he left as it was. The language, however it is, and certainly good words of ethics are taught here. And wondrous teachings are there as well. Eitzot noraot, awesome advices. Litkarev elav yitbarach, to get closer to Hashem. So you see, there's human beings behind all these holy words, and these human beings did the work, and we are on their trail, hopefully doing the work to come closer to Hashem, to understand how the system works, how the processes of creation are operant inside us, inside the entire universe, inside the ancients, and inside those who will be born after us. But it's all the same beautiful, strong idea of we turn away and we turn back. The faster we turn back, the better. The faster we turn back, the faster we reconnect and are re-inspired and renewed. And when you do that on a regular basis, it becomes automatic. And you'll see that tshuva itself, it's not this idea that's imported from other religions about, feeling bad about ourselves at all. It's about feeling good that I'm turning back to God and taking that where it takes us, and it will take us to the right place. Have a great day. Have a great week. We'll continue.